Ambassador Sarah Chen's neural implant buzzed with an urgent message as she stood before the Galactic Council. The holographic alert pulsed in her peripheral vision. NXTTHAL fleet movements, DETCTED, CLA's Sci-Fi Omega. She didn't miss a beat in her address to the assembled alien representatives. As humanity's history shows, our harsh homeworld taught us the futility of conflict. We chose peace not from weakness, but from wisdom. The words felt bitter in her mouth, knowing what was coming. The Zizexile representative, a crystalline being hovering in its gravity pod, chimed in with its harmonic voice. Your species continues to astound us, Ambassador. To emerge from such a deadly world, yet embrace peace so completely. Sarah's neural implant buzzed again. New data scrolled across her vision. Xthal scout ships probing Earth's defensive perimeter, testing responses, looking for weaknesses. They still believed the facade, that humanity's ships were purely civilian, that their colonies were undefended, that centuries of peace had dulled their teeth and claws. We are what we choose to be, Sarah responded, her voice steady despite the strategic updates flooding her consciousness. Humanity learned that lesson long ago. In her private chambers after the session, Sarah activated the quantum-encrypted channel to Earth Command. General Rivera's weathered face materialized before her. They're moving faster than we anticipated, he said without preamble. Scout ships have been testing our automated responses, measuring reaction times. Sarah nodded. They believe our defensive satellites are purely civilian tracking stations. That illusion won't last much longer. Their fleet movements suggest they're preparing for a major push. Rivera's expression hardened. The 7th Fleet just detected Xthal ships crossing the Morrison Line. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The Morrison Line was humanity's final tripwire, the point of no return. For 3 centuries, they had maintained the facade of peace, hiding their military capabilities behind civilian operations, disguising warships as merchants, and concealing weapon systems in plain sight. Do we maintain the facade? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. No. Rivera's response was firm. The moment they cross that line in force, we show them exactly why we chose peace. Because we were too damn good at war. Sarah turned to gaze out at the gleaming spires of the Galactic Council headquarters. Alien species went about their business, believing they understood humanity. The peaceful harshworlders, the diplomatic predators, the warriors who chose to build rather than destroy. Send the authorization code, she said finally, but only on my mark. Let them commit fully to their mistake. Understood, Ambassador. Rivera paused. They'd really have no idea, do they? Sarah watched a Xthal diplomatic shuttle glide past her window, its crew probably already celebrating their anticipated victory over the soft humans. No, she said quietly, but they're about to learn why we chose peace in the first place. The warning signal flashed one final time. Morrison Line Bavar EACHET. Multiple contexts. Sarah's voice was ice. Then let them learn why we chose peace. The Xthal assault fleet emerged from hyperspace above New Carpathia, their weapon systems already charged. Fleet Commander Vextor allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as he observed the peaceful mining colony below. No defensive platforms, no military installations, just scattered habitation domes and industrial complexes. This would be even easier than expected. Begin landing operations, he ordered. Remember, these are peaceful harshworlders. They'll surrender rather than risk casualties. The first warning should have been the complete lack of panic from the colony. No distress calls, no fleeing ships, no chaos. Instead, the mining operations simply stopped. Jack Torres, colony administrator and former Marine Corps colonel, stood in the colony's control center, watching the Xthal ships descend. His fingers danced across the neural interface, activating systems that had laid dormant since the colony's founding. All sectors, initiate Protocol Thermopylae. He subvocalized through the colony's quantum mesh network. Show them what peaceful harshworlders can do. The Enixithal ground forces were moving in perfect formation when the first mining laser pivoted. Designed to cut through mineral deposits, its focused beam sliced through the lead assault ship's hull like paper. Before they could react, industrial haulers transformed, revealing weapon mounts hidden beneath false panels. Impossible. Vextor breathed, watching the feeds. They're just miners. The colony's processing plants began venting industrial acid, creating corridors of lethal mist. Maintenance drones swarmed from their hangars, their repair tools repurposed into devastating close combat weapons. Every piece of civilian infrastructure revealed its deadly alternate purpose. This is Colony Administrator Torres to all civilians. Jack's voice echoed through the secured channels. Proceed to your designated combat stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The Enixithal troops found themselves fighting shadows. Miners emerged wearing exosuits designed for heavy labor, now serving as combat armor. Maintenance tunnels became killing grounds, with automated systems turning every corridor into a death trap. How? Vextor demanded, watching his elite forces get systematically decimated. They're supposed to be peaceful. In the colony's command center, Jack activated the final protocols. Massive mining machines, each the size of a small building, began to move with terrible purpose. Their drilling arms, capable of cutting through planetary bedrock, turned toward the Enixithal forces. We are peaceful, Jack transmitted on an open channel to the Enixithal commander. But we survived Earth. Did you really think we forgot how? The mining machines advanced, their industrial-grade shields shrugging off military-grade weapons. Behind them, colonists moved with practiced precision, every civilian revealing years of military training hidden beneath their peaceful facade. All sectors reporting ready, his XO announced. The fleet will be in position in 30 minutes. Jack nodded, watching the Enixithal forces frantically regroup. Tell Earth Command. The harshworlders remember how to bite. From orbit, Vextor watched in horror as his ground forces were systematically destroyed by civilian equipment. His final report to the Enixithal High Command was brief. The humans aren't peaceful. They were never peaceful. They were just waiting. The merchant vessel Carter Green was unremarkable by galactic standards. Inefficient engine design, redundant systems, oversized cargo bays. Typical human engineering, trading efficiency for reliability. At least, that's what everyone thought. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on her bridge, watching the Enixithal warships approach. They had already disabled her engines, believing they had crippled a simple cargo hauler. Final warning, human vessel. The Enixithal commander transmitted. Surrender or be destroyed. Maya smiled. Initiate metamorphosis protocols. The Carter Green shuddered as its true form emerged. Cargo panels split and reconfigured, revealing missile batteries and energy weapons. The inefficient engines powered up to their full military capacity. The oversized cargo bays opened like blooming flowers, launching squadrons of fighters that had laid dormant for years. Throughout human space, the same transformation was taking place. Every human merchant ship, every inefficient transport, every clumsy mining vessel revealed its true nature. The peaceful trading fleet became a war machine that had hidden in plain sight for centuries. In the Galactic Council chambers, Sarah Chen addressed the stunned representatives. You thought our ships were poorly designed, she said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. You thought we didn't understand proper engineering principles. The truth is, everything we built had two purposes. Tactical displays showed human vessels engaging Enixithal ships with devastating effectiveness. Centuries of maintaining a peaceful facade hadn't dulled their combat capabilities. It had refined them, hidden beneath layers of deception. The redundant systems, combat backup circuits, the oversized engines, military-grade propulsion disguised as inefficient civilian drives, the extra-thick hull plating, armor hidden beneath civilian transponders. These ZLA representatives' crystalline form vibrated with shock. Every ship, every single human vessel was a weapon. Every single one. Sarah confirmed. We traded throughout your systems, visited your worlds, docked at your stations, and everywhere we went, we brought our hidden fleet. The Carter Green led the counterattack against the Anxithal force, its true capabilities finally unleashed. Maya watched with satisfaction as her vessel's advanced targeting systems picked apart the enemy formation. Status report, she commanded. All weapons systems operating at full capacity, her XO reported. The Anxithal still haven't adapted to our real capabilities. Their tactical computers are trying to match us against civilian vessel profiles. In the council chambers, the displays showed more human ships revealing their true nature. Centuries of paranoid preparation were paying off as humanity's hidden fleet emerged from its chrysalis. We chose peace, Sarah told the council, but we never forgot war. Every trade route we established was a supply line. Every civilian port we built was a forward base. Every diplomatic mission was a reconnaissance operation. The Carter Green broke through the Anxithal line, its weapon systems proving far superior to anything the enemy had expected to face. Maya transmitted to all human vessels in range. The facade is over. Show them what we can do. Sarah's final words to the council echoed through the chambers. You thought our ships were inefficient because they had redundant systems and oversized engines. Those weren't design flaws. They were features. And now you'll see why. Admiral James Chen watched the tactical display as human ships broke every rule of conventional space combat. The Anxithal fleet, arranged in perfect geometric formations, was facing an enemy that refused to follow any predictable pattern. Human vessels moved like predators, like the wolves and big cats that had shaped their evolution on Earth. Status on the Somerset, he asked, watching the damaged destroyer limp away from the main battle group. Hull breached in sections 4 through 7, his tactical officer reported. They're venting atmosphere to alter trajectory. The Somerset's captain had taken a page from ancient submarine warfare, using the venting atmosphere as both propulsion and sensor disruption. The Anxithal ships, their targeting systems confused by the debris and gas, didn't notice the destroyer's true course until too late. Somerset Actual to Fleet Command, the transmission crackled, requesting permission to initiate Protocol Kamikaze. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. Granted. Give them hell. Somerset. The damaged destroyer accelerated directly toward the Anxithal command ship, its remaining engines pushing it well beyond safety limits. The enemy vessel attempted evasive maneuvers, but the Somerset's trajectory was too unpredictable, guided by the irregular pulses of venting atmosphere. Impact. The destruction of both ships created a massive debris field, spreading rapidly through the combat zone. Standard doctrine would call for all ships to clear the area. Human doctrine saw opportunity. All vessels, execute scatter pattern Delta, Chen ordered. Hunt them in the chaos. Human ships disappeared into the debris field, their systems optimized for exactly this kind of combat. Each captain acted with near-complete autonomy, following the core principle of human space warfare: adapt, improvise, overcome. On the Anxithal flagship, High Commander Zextroll watched in growing horror as his carefully coordinated fleet was picked apart by enemies he couldn't effectively track. They're not fighting like a proper military force, he growled. There's no formation, no proper chain of command. No. Sir, his sensor officer interrupted. Human vessels emerging from the debris field. Multiple vectors. The human ships attacked from all directions, using pieces of debris as impromptu shields. Their weapons had been calibrated to pass through the specific radiation signature of the destroyed vessels, while the Anxithal targeting systems struggled with the interference. In the Galactic Council observation chamber, military attaches from various species watched the battle with a mixture of horror and fascination. A Drachnid analyst turned to Sarah Chen. This isn't proper warfare, he said. Where are the lines of battle? The formations, the structured command and control. Sarah's smile was cold. You're watching 4 billion years of terrestrial evolution expressed in space combat. On Earth, even our herbivores developed complex survival strategies. Did you think we would do less? The battle continued to unfold like a predator's hunt. Human ships would strike from unexpected angles, withdraw into the debris field, then emerge elsewhere. The Anxithal tried to maintain their formations, but this only made them more predictable targets. Admiral Chen watched as the tactical display showed another human innovation. Ships were sharing targeting data in real time, creating a neural network of combat information that allowed each vessel to act with both autonomy and collective intelligence. Sir, his communications officer reported, the Anxithal are attempting to adapt their formation. They're breaking into smaller units. Too late, Chen muttered. They're learning the wrong lesson. Show them why. The human fleet demonstrated its next evolution. Ships that had been hunting individually suddenly formed temporary wolf packs, coordinating their attacks with ruthless efficiency before dispersing again. The Anxithal units, trying to copy human tactics without understanding the underlying principles, found themselves isolated and destroyed. Signal from the Anxithal flagship, the comm officer announced. They're requesting terms of surrender. Chen opened a channel to Sarah Chen at the Galactic Council. Ambassador, the enemy fleet is offering surrender. How should we proceed? Sarah's response was measured. Accept their surrender, Admiral. But make sure they understand one thing. This was us fighting with restraint. We could have done much worse. The battle concluded with the systematic disarmament of Anxithal vessels. As the debris field began to clear, the full extent of human tactical innovation became apparent. The Somerset's sacrifice had created not just a battlefield advantage, but a proving ground for human adaptability. In his after-action report, Admiral Chen included a quote from an ancient Earth military theorist. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. But when fighting becomes necessary, victory belongs to those who can adapt fastest. The Galactic Council's Military Observation Committee filed their own report, which included a chilling conclusion. Human combat doctrine appears chaotic, but reveals deep patterns based on their evolutionary history as pursuit predators. They don't just fight wars, they hunt their enemies. Most disturbing is the evidence that what we witnessed was, by their own admission, a restrained demonstration of their capabilities. Grand Admiral Kexthar of the Anxithal Empire stood before the holographic display, watching recordings of human combat operations for the 14th consecutive hour. Each viewing revealed new patterns, new adaptations, new horrors. Play the Battle of Proxima Gate again, he commanded. His staff officers, equally exhausted, compiled without complaint. The hologram showed a Anxithal defensive formation, perfectly arranged according to millennia of space combat doctrine. The human ships approached in what appeared to be a chaotic swarm, until you watched it enough times to see the underlying patterns. Freeze, Kexthar ordered. Look at their ship configurations. Compare them to the battles from just 2 weeks ago. His tactical officer, Vertil, manipulated the display. They've modified their weapons. The energy signatures are different. They've adapted their weapons to penetrate our improved shields, Kexthar said quietly. In 2 weeks, they analyzed our defensive upgrades and reconfigured their entire fleet's weapon systems. Do you understand what that means? The room fell silent. The implications were terrifying. The Anxithal military, like most galactic powers, measured technological advancement in years, sometimes decades. Humans were doing it in days. In human space, aboard the newly commissioned battleship, Darwin's Legacy, Captain Elena Rodriguez reviewed the latest tactical updates from the front. Her ship's AI had just finished integrating combat data from 17 different engagements, identifying patterns in Anxithal responses. They're trying to adapt to our wolf pack tactics, her XO noted, highlighting a particular engagement. Breaking up their formations into smaller units. Alina smiled grimly. So we'll show them why pack hunters evolved to be flexible. Transmit Combat Evolution Protocol 17 to the fleet. Time to change the game again. The next engagement proved her point. When the Anxithal fleet split into smaller units, expecting to counter human pack tactics, they faced an entirely new strategy. Human ships now operated in pairs, using synchronized gravity drives to create artificial singularities between them. The miniature black holes lasted only seconds, but they distorted space enough to shred Anxithal ships that had sacrificed structural integrity for increased speed. In the Galactic Council, Sarah Chen received the latest intelligence briefing. The Anxithal weren't just losing battles, they were losing their confidence. Every adaptation they made was countered within days. Every tactical innovation was met with something even more unexpected. Tell me, she asked as Exilé military observer, what frightens you more, our weapons or how quickly we improve them? The crystalline beam's resonance patterns showed distress. You're not just fighting. You're evolving. We've monitored your communications. Your ships share combat data in real time, each defeat or victory becoming a lesson for your entire fleet. Of course, Sarah replied. That's how we survived Earth. Our ancestors didn't just learn to use tools, they learned to improve them constantly. Each generation built on the knowledge of the last. Why would we stop that pattern in space? The Anxithal made their most desperate adaptation yet, attempting to jam human communications to prevent their rapid sharing of tactical data. Within hours, human ships began using Anxithal communication protocols instead, having learned their language patterns through combat intercepts. Signal intercepted from Anxithal High Command, Alina's communications officer reported. The translation appeared on her screen. UUGNT. All fleet commanders. Human combat evolution exceeds all projections. They are not merely fighting. They are learning at an unprecedented rate. Each engagement makes them more dangerous. They have begun using our own communication protocols against us, with improvements we never considered. They are not just defeating us. They are hunting us. Alina transmitted the intercept to Earth Command with a simple annotation. They're beginning to understand. Admiral Chen's response was equally brief. Show them the next step. The Darwin's Legacy led the next assault on an Anxithal stronghold. This time, human ships demonstrated yet another evolution. Their hulls now incorporated engineered bacteria that consumed energy weapons, actually growing stronger under enemy fire. It was biological warfare merged with space combat in a way no species had ever attempted. In his command center, Grand Admiral Kexthar watched the latest defeat with something approaching awe. We thought they were peaceful because they chose to be, he told his staff. We never asked why they made that choice. Now I understand. They chose peace because they were too good at war. Every aspect of their nature, every part of their evolution, made them perfect at adaptation and conflict. The final report he sent to the Anxithal Emperor contained a warning. They are not simply a harsh world species. They are evolution's finest creation, predators who learn to think, adapt, and improve, and we have reminded them of their true nature. The Galactic Council chamber fell into absolute silence as Sarah Chen activated the holographic display. Three-dimensional images materialized, human colonies transforming from peaceful settlements into military strongholds, orbital habitats revealing weapon systems that had laid dormant for centuries, and trade routes overlaid with military strategic value assessments. Everything we built, Sarah said into the silence, served two purposes. We never lied about being peaceful. We simply didn't tell you why we chose peace. The Exilé representative's crystalline form vibrated with distress. Every colony, every single human settlement was designed as a military installation. Computer, Sarah commanded, display New Singapore colony, civilian configuration. A hologram showed a typical human settlement, residential domes, hydroponics facilities, power plants, and recreation areas. It looked remarkably ordinary. Now show military configuration. The transformation was breathtaking. Residential domes split apart to reveal anti-orbital weapon platforms. Hydroponics facilities rotated to expose ammunition manufacturing plants. Power plants expanded, showing fusion reactors capable of powering planetary shield systems. Every colony, Sarah confirmed, every outpost, every mining facility. We built them all with dual purposes because that's how we survived Earth. Our earliest ancestors didn't build separate shelters and defensive positions. They made sure every shelter could be defended. The Council's military attaches were frantically taking notes as Sarah continued her revelation. She displayed more installations, orbital habitats that could become battle stations, research facilities hiding fleet command centers, and civilian shipyards capable of switching to military production in hours rather than months. Your civilian space program, the Drachnid representative said slowly, it was always a military operation. Yes. Sarah brought up new images, the first human colony ships. These vessels weren't just carrying colonists. They were carrying soldiers, weapons, and the seeds of our defensive network. Every expansion of human space was a military operation disguised as civilian growth. In human space, the revelation was having its effect. Exthul forces, already reeling from battlefield defeats, watched in horror as seemingly harmless human installations transformed into fortresses. Admiral Chen, coordinating from Earth Command, gave the order they'd waited centuries to execute. All colonies initiate full military configuration. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across human space, peaceful settlements shed their civilian disguise. Shield generators that had masqueraded as atmospheric processors powered up. Defense platforms emerged from underground bunkers. Civilian militia units, trained for generations in secret, moved to their combat positions. The Enxithul's greatest mistake, Sarah told the Council, wasn't attacking us. It was believing that we had ever truly lowered our guard. We chose peace because we understood war too well to want it. But understanding war meant never forgetting how to wage it. She brought up one final display, Earth itself. The hologram showed layers of defensive systems, military installations, and strategic preparations that had been hidden beneath the peaceful facade of humanity's homeworld. We learned from our own history, Sarah continued. Every great civilization on Earth that forgot how to fight eventually fell to those who remembered. So we found a middle path, maintaining peace while preserving our capacity for war. The Galactic Council's Security Committee was hastily convened. Their preliminary report was telling. Human strategic doctrine appears to be based on an unprecedented level of paranoid preparation, maintaining complete military readiness while presenting a purely peaceful appearance. Most concerning is the evidence that this deception was maintained not for years or decades, but for centuries. In orbit around a Enxithul colony world, the captain of a human destroyer watched as another civilian research station transformed into a fully armed fortress. His tactical officer's report was succinct. Their orbital defenses are still configured to handle civilian traffic patterns. They have no effective response to our military capabilities. Sarah concluded her presentation to the Council with a final revelation. We're revealing this now not to threaten, but to explain. Humanity chose peace because we had mastered war to such a degree that we feared our own capabilities. Every peaceful action we took was backed by military preparation, not because we wanted war, but because we understood that peace is maintained through strength. The council chambers erupted in debate, but Sarah's final words cut through the chaos. We built gardens because we remembered battlefields. We chose diplomacy because we knew war. And now, thanks to the Enxithul, the galaxy will understand why we made that choice. In human space, the transformation continued. Centuries of preparation were finally bearing fruit, revealing a military machine that had been hiding in plain sight. The peaceful Harshworlders had shown their true face, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The Enxithul homeworld's orbital defense grid registered the arrival of the human fleet with cold precision. 500 warships, their civilian disguises long abandoned, emerged from hyperspace in perfect attack formation. On the surface, evacuation sirens wailed across sprawling cities. The end, they believed, had come. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the EFS Terran Dawn, studying tactical displays of the Engshithal defensive positions. Their remaining fleet had consolidated around their homeworld, preparing for a final stand. It was, by any military analysis, hopeless. All ships in position, his XO reported. Ground invasion forces ready. Orbital strike platforms charge. Chen nodded, then opened a channel to Earth Command. Fleet in position, awaiting final authorization. The response came not from military command, but from Sarah Chen. Her hologram appeared on the bridge, her expression solemn. "The Council is watching, James. Show them something they don't expect." Understood. Admiral Chen turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the Engshithal High Command. Full spectrum, all frequencies." In the Engshithal capital's war room, Grand Admiral Kexthar prepared to give the order that would send millions to their deaths in a futile defense. The human transmission caught him mid-word. "This is Admiral James Chen of the Earth Fleet." The transmission began. "We are transmitting terms for your surrender. They are, I believe, more generous than you expect." Kexthar's staff exchanged confused looks. The humans had them completely at their mercy. Why offer terms at all? The terms appeared on their screens. The Engshithal would withdraw from all conquered territories. Their military would be reduced and monitored. But their homeworld would remain sovereign. Their species would survive. Their civilization would continue. "This is a trick," one of Kexthar's advisors hissed. "They mean to lull us into lowering our defenses." In the Galactic Council chambers, the assembled representatives watched the exchange with intense interest. The Zizexile representative turned to Sarah Chen. "Your fleet could destroy their world. Why show mercy?" Sarah's response was measured. "Because someone once showed us the same mercy." She activated a historical hologram, showing Earth centuries ago, a planet torn by war, on the brink of self-destruction. Then, first contact with the Arcturians, a now extinct species that had found Earth in its darkest hour. "They could have conquered us," Sarah explained. "Instead, they showed us a better path. They taught us that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to preserve." On the Terran Dawn, Admiral Chen waited for the Engshithal response. His tactical officers maintained their target locks, but his orders were clear. No aggressive actions unless fired upon. Finally, Kexthar's image appeared on the command screen. "Why?" he asked simply. "After what we did, why offer mercy?" "Because we remember," Chen replied. "We remember being where you are now, standing on the precipice, facing an enemy with overwhelming power. The choice we offer you today is the same choice we were once given: evolve or perish." The Engshithal leadership debated for hours while the human fleet waited patiently in orbit. In the council chambers, Sarah Chen delivered a speech that would be remembered for centuries. "We chose peace not because we had to, but because we were shown its value. The Arcturians could have destroyed us. Instead, they taught us that the strongest predator is the one who knows when not to kill. Today, we honor their memory by offering the same choice." In orbit, the Engshithal defense grid powered down. Ground installations went silent. Their remaining fleet stood down. "We accept your terms," Kexthar transmitted. "But I must know, how can you trust us to keep the peace after this?" Admiral Chen's response was unexpected. He laughed. "We don't expect you to keep the peace because you love it. We expect you to keep it because you now understand the alternative. Just as we did, centuries ago." As the formal surrender was arranged, the Galactic Council received its final report of the day. Humanity's greatest weapon was never their hidden fleet or disguised fortresses. It was their ability to choose peace even when war was justified. This demonstrates an evolution beyond mere military capability. It shows the development of true civilization. Sarah Chen's final words to the Council that day became part of galactic diplomatic doctrine. The true test of a predator species is not how well they fight, but how wisely they choose not to. Today, we didn't just spare the Anxithal. We taught them why peace is the stronger choice. 1 year after the Anxithal surrender, the Galactic Council convened for a historic session. The chamber was packed with representatives from every spacefaring species, all gathered to witness something unprecedented. Humanity voluntarily reverting their military installations back to civilian status. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, but this time she wasn't alone. Besides her stood Grand Admiral Kexthar of the Anxithal, his presence a testament to how much had changed. Computer, Sarah commanded, display Earth Historical Archive, Third World War period. The holographic display filled with images that made many representatives flinch. Cities reduced to radioactive ash, billions dead, a civilization on the brink of extinction. This wasn't sanitized history. It was raw, brutal truth. This was us, Sarah said quietly. This was humanity at its worst. We had mastered the art of war so completely that we nearly destroyed ourselves. And then, the display shifted, showing the arrival of the Arcturian ships. Their first contact, the moment that changed everything. They found us at our lowest point. Sarah continued. They had the power to conquer or destroy us. Instead, they taught us something we had forgotten in our rage. The strength it takes to choose peace. Kexthar stepped forward. When the humans defeated our forces, we expected extinction. Their mercy seemed like weakness. Now we understand. It was the ultimate display of strength. The display shifted again, showing human colonies transforming back to their civilian configurations. Military installations powering down. The mighty war machine that had humbled the Anxithal Empire deliberately making itself vulnerable again. But there was a difference this time. The Anxithal observers noticed it first. You're not completely disarming, Kexthar noted. You're maintaining a balance. Sarah nodded. We learned 2 lessons from our history. First, that peace must be chosen, not forced. Second, that peace must be protected. We're not abandoning our defenses. We're optimizing them, showing the galaxy that there's a middle path between paranoid militarization and naive pacifism. The Council Chamber's displays showed new images, joint human Anxithal military exercises, former enemies teaching each other, learning from each other's strengths. The Anxithal were learning human adaptability, while humans studied Anxithal discipline and organization. We're not just making peace, Kexthar explained to the stunned council. We're learning from each other. The humans showed us that strength isn't just about weapons. It's about the wisdom to know when not to use them. Sarah activated one final display, footage from Earth's ancient natural history archives. It showed predators in their natural habitats, wolves, lions, eagles, but it didn't show them hunting. Instead, it showed them at rest, at play, raising their young. The greatest predators on Earth, Sarah explained, spent most of their time not hunting. They understood conservation of energy, the importance of community, the balance of nature. We forgot those lessons once. The Arcturians helped us remember. Now, we help others remember too. The new galactic defense protocols were ratified that day. They weren't based on disarmament, but on understanding. Every species maintained the right to defend itself, but also the responsibility to choose peace when possible. Human and Anxithal military advisors would help other species find their own balance between strength and restraint. As the session concluded, a young Zexilay representative approached Sarah. I don't understand, it chimed. You proved you were stronger. Why give up that advantage? Sarah smiled. We're not giving up anything. We're gaining everything. Look at your history. Every empire that ruled through fear eventually fell. But cultures that built genuine peace, that created true alliances, they endured. The final images on the council displays showed human ships resuming their civilian disguise, but this time, Everyone knew what lay beneath. It wasn't deception anymore. It was a reminder. A reminder that peace was strongest when it was backed by the capability for war and the wisdom not to wage it. We maintain our strength, Sarah concluded her address, not because we expect war, but because we understand peace. We build gardens because we remember battlefields. We choose diplomacy because we know the cost of conflict. And if anyone mistakes that choice for weakness, Kexthar finished the sentence, they need only ask the Enxthal Empire what we learned about humanity's peace. As the council session ended, Sarah received one final message from Admiral Chen. The Arcturians would be proud. She looked out at the assembled representatives of a galaxy forever changed by humanity's revelation of its true nature and its true wisdom. No, she whispered. They would be proud of all of us. We didn't just remember their lesson. We taught it to others. The Harshworlders had shown the galaxy that true strength lay not in the ability to wage war, but in the wisdom to choose peace, while never forgetting why that choice was so precious.